All right, so today I got something that this car definitely needs, and it's gonna make it look so much nicer, is a new rear spoiler. So I've been looking around trying to figure out which ones to get. A lot of them are very pricey. You can go OEM with the Circuit Edition. I was looking more for something on the cheaper side, and then I came across this is the Extreme Online spoiler. They make one just for these cars, and they're relatively priced compared to some of the other ones. So, but this is a 3-piece spoiler, so I'm not sure if the other more expensive ones are 1 pieces or not, but this will come with the 2 side pieces, and then you will have the main spoiler that goes across the top of the car. So this does come with everything you're going to need, with the screws, bolts, hardware, and then obviously the worst part is to drill into the car, but it does come with the little locators as well, so we're going to have to drill into the car. But first, let's clean up everything, get everything all organized, and then we'll get this thing all mocked up and see what it's going to look like. Alright, so just taking a look at one of the pieces of the spoiler. This does come painted black, and that is the only color they offer. And this piece will, from what I see, replace this piece here. So it'll be mounted on those two with the 2 normal screws that are held on here, and then the spoiler will go across the top and be mounted to this. So I'm going to take a look at this and see if it's going to be easier to put it together here and then put it on the car, or put it in piece by piece and then assemble it each side and then put the middle piece on. So I'm going to take a look at this and see what it is, and then I'll figure out if we should assemble it now. I've been messing around with this for about 10-15 minutes now, realizing that the fitment is probably not the best already. Not terrible right now, but you are going to have to open up the holes in the hatch just a little bit, because the problem that I'm seeing too is, so this is a screw that came out of there, which was fairly small in diameter, and then you're going to swap it over to, I don't know if these are 1/4 20 screws or not, but the diameter of them is a lot bigger, so there's not a lot of play in there. I mean, you can see how small they are now, and then what you're gonna have to pretty much make them to. So it's not that much bigger, but, and if you did have to go back to the old one, you would never even notice. So, but that's already one thing that I'm noticing. And then the next thing was, I was getting the screws in there, and I would imagine because they give you 2 screws. They give you the ones with the hex nuts, the ones with the hex nut on it, and then the flat ones with the Phillips on it. I would imagine they'd go with the flat ones, so that way it gives you some room in between the hatch and the actual car. So, but when I use this is too long, so I'm gonna have to cut the bolt so that way I can actually tighten it without it sticking out too much. So that's already something I've just noticed, as I've only been in this for 10-15 minutes. I'm still debating on if I want to do the side pieces first and then do the top piece. Once I get these mounted and situated, then I'll go from there. I just stuck this thing on there just to see how everything was gonna fit, and I mean, it fits relatively good. I mean, it's literally just loose on there right now, but I wanted to see if I had access to the screws to get this middle part on first before I attach the side pieces, which I do. So I'm going to attach the 2 side pieces first, and then once those are on, we'll mount this on there, and then we'll also locate where those holes need to be drilled on the roof part. So let's take everything back apart and get these side pieces mounted first. So the farther and farther I was starting to get into this installation, I realized that almost all the screws are going to be too long, and I could either cut them all, find some new ones, or utilize what I have but just fix the problem. And the problem is these like riv nuts or whatever they use in here are not deep enough, and the rest of the material is just the ABS material, so you can actually just drill them out and then rethread them with the same thread that's already in there. This is an M6x1, so it's a very standard metric screw. So I ended up just drilling out all the holes and then re-tapping them, so that way the threads just went through, so that way it'll accept pretty much any length screw you have. You will just have to kind of watch out and make sure if you do put too long of a screw that it doesn't actually poke out the back. But other than that, this is probably going to make the install a lot better. So I'm going to start working. I got this side mocked up already. I'm going to start working on this side, and then we'll see if this starts going a lot easier than the first side did. I got the spoiler all mounted together. It's solid. The only thing it's missing is the holes that need to be drilled. So I have all my locators. I'm gonna tape them down, get them where I want to, then tape them down to the car. Because if you guys are not familiar with how these work, this literally is inside the hole that is threaded. We're gonna tape these onto the car, remove the spoiler, and then these will be left on there exactly where the holes were supposed to be on the spoiler or is on the car. So let's tape everything down, and then we can take this off and then do the worst part, drill into the car. Alright, so took the spoiler back off, and you can see these are left where they should be. So hopefully nothing moved. I did kind of press on the tape to make sure everything's gonna stick, but pretty much I just want to drill a hole in the middle of each one of these. So we'll be drilling 5 holes into this, which hopefully will be pretty easy. We're going to want to drill a hole about the size of this bolt, maybe a little bit bigger, so there's some wiggle room, and then let's go from there. Alright, so I drilled a pilot hole through on this one, and I mean, I forgot, this is all plastic, so it's actually really easy to drill through, so just watch out so that way the drill doesn't go too deep. But I'm just gonna pilot them all and then go through and open them up a little bit bigger. I pre-drilled all the holes, and this one I went through just to kind of see where I'm gonna break through. There is, I don't know if you guys can see it or not, the lighting is really dark right now, but it did break through. It's like right in the center, like right in the middle of the plastic over here. So, and then if you look, I popped off this panel. There's a panel underneath here, pop that off, and now you can see 1, 2, that one's a little dark, but 3 holes break through there, and this one I have not drilled all the way through yet. But I'm gonna finish drilling all these through to be 1/4 inch, and then we should be able to mount the spoiler on. Alright, so I just finished pretty much getting all the bolts done. I was down to the last bolt over here, and I just wanted to mention on this side, when you have this bolt, it's pretty much going to line up with this little slot in here. On this side, there's a plastic clip. I don't know if you guys can see it back there, but I just pushed that plastic clip out so that way I can get my screwdriver through and I can snug that one up. And the middle one, I can get at pretty easily. So I did unplug the light so I could drop this down a little bit more, so I could give myself a little bit more room, but those 3 bolts lined up perfectly. All the other bolts pretty much lined up. The other one that I drilled lined up right there and over there. Then the other 2 used the factory mounting holes right there. So pretty much everything's on. I'm gonna button it up and then we'll take a look at how this thing looks on the car. All right, so just got the spoiler all cleaned up, mounted, and this thing is looking really good. So one thing I do have to say, like I said, fitment at the beginning was a little iffy, but everything else, once you get everything lined up, it goes together really good. So like I said, the only complaint I had was when I was trying to use the 2 factory screws right here. They just didn't quite line up, and you had to make the hole bigger just to get the screws to work, but everything else fit really good. It looks good. But I will probably eventually upgrade. I will eventually probably just change these bolts out and the ones underneath to something black, because they just stand out too much for me. And I'd rather have like the black hardware that would just blend in and not look like it's kind of afterthought. It definitely gives this car the look that it needs. Or pretty much like the Circuit Edition. This is pretty much a copycat or a cheaper version of the Circuit Edition wing. One other thing I did notice, and if you have a black car or a darker car, it might not stand out as much, but when this goes on, you can easily see the white. It's the only little thing that I noticed, but if this was black, it would, yeah, I mean, obviously you wouldn't even notice at all. So, but just nitpicking here. But again, if you guys are interested in picking up the spoiler, I'll put links down below, so that way you can pick up your own spoiler for the price. It is actually pretty decent. Paint job on this, paint quality looks really good too. So I definitely think it is a upgrade, especially if you do not have a Circuit Edition already. Alright, so it's been about a week since I put this in, and like I said, one of the things I hated were all these horrible screws here. So I went out, I found out this is a M6x1 screw. I went and looked for one with a washer, like, I don't know how you would describe this bolt, but it has a wider head on it, so that way it has more of a washer on it, but without the washer. So I ordered a pack of those for like, I think it was like $8, $9 from Amazon. If you do get this, I definitely would recommend you do how I did it, because these bolts look so much better on here. All the black makes it look so much cleaner. So I'm going to replace these ones over here as well. I understand this is a cheaper spoiler, so they cheap out on the hardware, but $10 of hardware will make it look. I got all these changed on the exterior ones, and they look perfect. The interior ones, I was going to change those, but these are just a tad bit too long, because you could almost feel them wanting to poke out the other side of the spoiler, so I didn't bother with them. But definitely, I mean, if you really wanted to, I know they sell these in a bunch of different sizes, so feel free to buy a different pack or whatever with a different length. But these ones were the 25mm length, so about an inch long, and they worked for these 6 over here, and they were perfect, and they make it look so much nicer. So, but if you are interested in everything I use to install this spoiler or the extra screws or whatever, I will put a link down below for everything that I use. Like I said, the spoiler fits great, looks good. Just, it really lacked the hardware. I don't know why. $10 more hardware, maybe 2 different lengths or something would have made this a million times nicer. But for the price of it being, I think, over half the price of the OEM Circuit Edition, it's definitely worth it just to spend the extra $10-15 on some better hardware. So, but with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are new, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.